Today's video is tangentially related to Jiu-Jitsu, but is somewhat off topic, but it's something I wanted to do anyway, okay? So I wanted to talk about how you can be a good moral actor and you can basically do good in the world, okay? So this requires three things. It requires competence, it requires moral fortitude and sophistication, and it requires power, okay? And let me explain why it requires all three, okay? So you need a structured, sophisticated moral system and moral framework that you are principled and you stick to through your actions. Now, not everyone is perfect. Obviously, everyone deviates from their moral structure. We are human and we fail sometimes, including myself, obviously. I've failed many, many times. But, you want to have that overall guiding structure and you want that to be the main way that you guide your actions in the world. And you want to make sure that it's a good one and you want to put it to the test, right? You want to have constructive debates with people. You want to, do a lot of reading and figure out like what is a good system and what is a good way to go about the world. Basically I'm a moral objectivist, which I think is the most reasonable position. I think relativism is basically just a form of cowardice where you're not willing to confront the immoralities inherent in someone else's system. So therefore you're just a relativist and you say it's all fine according to whatever criteria you want, culture, or whether what an individual believes, subjectivism, I think that's all very silly. And I think whether you're religious or not, and I'm not particularly religious, whether you're religious or not, like we should all agree that there's a moral, objective framework that we should all work from. And we may not necessarily agree on what the details of that structure are, but as long as we agree with that, meta-narrative, then we can pursue moving society in a positive direction, okay? Now, you also need competence and you need power. Okay, so having that moral framework is not enough. You need to be competent in addressing the problems that you are trying to address. So I've talked about this in a previous video before, but if you inject a overly simplistic solution into a complex problem, you're almost certainly going to make it worse. You need to have the competence in that field that you're trying to implement a solution to a problem, you need to have that competence, because if you don't, you're almost certainly going to mess up that complex system. So you really need to know what you're talking about. You really need to have done research if you're trying to implement solutions to these things. And you should never try to tackle problems that are outside your realm of competence. You should always stick to the local problems that you know what to do for. And as you gradually gain more competence and you learn more and you become more intelligent as you go through life, you will be able to address grander scale problems with a much higher degree of competence. But everything starts from the bottom up. You got to start from the bottom at the very individual level, then the local level, then the national level eventually. Now, that doesn't preclude you from discussing these ideas in debates, by the way. Okay, that's something you definitely do want to do because it's going to improve your competence. You want to test your ideas against other people's ideas, so that you make sure you refine your ideas and you make them strong, and you address the criticisms of them, or at least discard the ones that you can address the criticisms of. That's also something that's important. You need to disregard and discard bad ideas that you have no answers for the criticism of. Okay. Now, you also require power. So you can have competence, you can have moral fortitude, and you can have a sophisticated system of morality. But if you do not have the power to implement those things, then you're basically like a rabbit. You're like harmless. You're just in the system moving around and you can't really do anything to affect change. So you need to make yourself powerful, not only in your body, but your mind, which kind of goes along with competence. And you also want to, make yourself a valuable member of your community, make yourself a valuable member of your social circle. And you can gradually wield power through that in order to affect change in a positive way. So you need all three things: competence, moral fortitude and sophistication, and power, okay? If you only have two of those things, that's when bad stuff starts to happen, right? If you only have the morality and you only have the competence, right? You're harmless, you're a rabbit, you basically can't do very much. Now, if you only have, say, competence and you have power, but you have no moral framework, right? You know, you're a psychopath basically, you just do whatever you want. Well, those types of people are extremely dangerous, perhaps the most dangerous, right? The most intelligent, competent people that wield power but don't do so with a good guiding moral framework, they tend to do extreme damage throughout history. Now, that being said, having a strong moral and sophisticated framework and power without having competence and basically being an egomaniac, that also has led to extreme damage throughout history. So that's why it's important that you have that competence. It's not just good enough to want to do good, okay? I think most people do want to do good, but if you don't have the competence to do good, then in your attempt to do good, you may make things worse. And so you need to constantly question yourself, what you're doing, and whether the ideas that you're trying to implement are really going to help things. You need to constantly be, debating and learning more and trying to refine your ideas to make them better. If you don't do those things, then you will make things worse, okay? And, this is something that is very difficult. I think it's very difficult. It's been difficult for me, and it's something that you need to, start early on. And you need to educate your children on, from when they're little to when they're older, right? That it's awesome that you want to do good and you should want to do good, but you should also make sure that you really know what you're doing, and you should try to use the power that you have in your own life to pursue those ends and do good, not only for yourself, your family, your spouse, your friends, but for the nation and for society as a whole. So, bit off topic here, guys, but it's something that relates to the Jiu-Jitsu philosophy of self-improvement and trying to be a good actor, a good person. So I felt like maybe I would shed some thoughts on this. So I hope you guys liked the video. If you disagree on with what I said, or you want to expand on something that I said, be sure to leave a comment, like and subscribe if you like the content. Make sure you click the notification bell so that you guys get notified when we have new videos coming out. And I'll see you guys next time.